I went 48 hours without social media, and here's how it went. I've definitely struggled with being doom scrolling and stuff like that before on social media, 100%. Typically at most campsites, you don't actually have reception. So my fear that was unlocked on the Friday was that I was gonna miss a big announcement from Taylor. I did find that the longer I went without using the apps, the more I didn't want to use them, which I don't want. I'm kind of almost pushing myself to go on social media more because I'm not going on it as much as I was before this challenge. And it's making me feel disconnected. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nina, I'm 27 years old and I lived in Perth. I currently live in Perth, Western Australia. Recently, I tried something that I've never ever done before, and I thought I would share it with you guys and tell you about my experience. So if you can hear some crunching next to me, I have my rabbit popcorn eating his pellets for dinner, so sorry about that. Recently, I decided to try and do a social media cleanse, I guess you can call it. I just went a couple days without social media and I just thought I'd see how I went. I've never done that before. I've definitely struggled with being doom scrolling and stuff like that before on social media, 100%. But I don't feel like it negatively impacts me too much aside from spending too much time on it. So I never really felt like it was something that I needed to do or that I should back off from. I'm glad I did it, and it was definitely an interesting experience. I wanted to actually document my experience when I was doing it, but it just didn't work out. We went camping for a couple nights, and we regularly go camping maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Typically at most campsites, you don't actually have reception. I was like, oh, okay, we're planning a camping trip. It might be a good time for me to try and go completely without social media for the whole trip. But because we were on a trip and kind of camping in the bush / beach, we took my partner's car, which is a very loud car, so I couldn't film while we were driving. It just didn't really work out. I actually did get one clip of me trying to start the video. Okay, I just started the no social media. It just turned 9 o'clock, so I'm going from 9 o'clock today, which is Friday, to 9 o'clock Sunday. This morning I was thinking about it though, and I kind of chickened out a little bit, and I was like, I'll see how I go after 24 hours and then decide if I'm going to continue. I really want to do 2 days, but we'll see how we go. I don't know how it's gonna go. I've turned off the notifications for all my social media apps. I'll talk to you in a minute. It was while he was parked at a traffic light. I think it was, yeah, he was at a traffic light. That's when I was trying to film any clips that I could because it was obviously quieter because he wasn't driving. Yeah, it didn't last long because there was only a couple traffic lights and then there was hours of driving with just on a highway, no traffic lights. So it just didn't work out. I wrote notes while I was camping and I thought I would just do a recap kind of video of how it went down and how I felt and all that kind of stuff. Oh, it's a pelican. So what I decided to do was we left Friday morning and we camped Friday night, Saturday night, and then on Sunday we actually stayed the night at a resort and then came back on Monday. But because we left Friday morning, we left at 8 o'clock. I decided from 9 a.m. Friday I was gonna stop social media, and then I was going to pick it back up on Sunday at 9 a.m. and it would be the 48 hours without social media. So the first thing I did at 9 o'clock was turn off any notifications that I would receive from TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I didn't do Facebook Messenger just because that's more of a communication avenue. Yeah, it was just those, TikTok, Facebook and Instagram, because those are the only social media that I really use aside from YouTube, obviously. But YouTube doesn't really, I don't scroll on YouTube. I don't really look at YouTube shorts or anything like that. So it wasn't really something that was going to impact me. That was the only thing I did to start off at 9 a.m. on Friday. I feel like on these camping trips as well, obviously you're distracted. When you're traveling, you're not really sitting at home on social media all the time. Because I was really distracted a lot of the time, I found it not too bad. But I do wonder, and I might do another video on this or try this later down the track, what it would be like if I had done it while just at home and not on a trip or anything like that. and see how much harder it would be, because I think it would be quite a bit harder. But it was good, like just chilling, like we were driving down south. It was like a 5-hour drive. I didn't really feel like I'd missed anything. However, probably 3 or 4 hours in, I did have the thought of, well, I haven't missed anything because I haven't got any notifications. And then I was like, wait a second, no, I turned off notifications, so I might have missed something. So that was the first kind of thing where I realized like, oh, it's actually impacting me a little bit at this point. My biggest fear kind of unlocked, not my biggest fear, that's a lie. One of my fears kind of unlocked in this process as well. Because I'm a Swiftie and a big Taylor Swift fan, obviously if you're a Swiftie you might know about Reputation Taylor's version that we've been waiting for a while, or sort of any sort of announcements from Taylor, whether it's a documentary or whatever it is. So my fear that was unlocked on the Friday was that I was going to miss a big announcement from Taylor, and I was so scared of that. There was no like dates of anything happening in those couple days, like the Grammys or anything like that, so I wasn't too worried. But I was like, oh, I bet it's just gonna happen. Like Reputation TV, it's gonna get dropped while I'm doing this no social media, and I'm gonna miss it all. So that was my biggest like, oh god, I hope nothing happens kind of thing. But aside from that, it really wasn't too bad. There was a time where we stopped to like get fuel and use the bathroom and stuff like that. And so I was waiting for a bit with nothing really to do. We weren't really moving. And I did like subconsciously go to where my apps, my social media apps were on my phone. And it was at that point where they're in like a little folder by themselves. So you have to like tap on the folder and then tap on the app that you want to open. So I tapped on the folder, saw the apps, and I was like, oh no, hang on, I'm not allowed to do this. So I had to then move that folder to a different spot, like a different location on my phone, if that makes sense. So then I wouldn't just subconsciously go to those apps. And I think that's the biggest problem when it comes to doom scrolling, is just subconsciously going to, like, you know where the app is, you've got a few minutes where you're not doing anything, so you just subconsciously scroll. So once I moved those, it definitely stopped me from like reaching for that spot where the apps are, which is really good. Because like I said, we were on this trip and like we were doing things, and it was a lot of fun and it was distracting, it really wasn't too bad. The only times that I found it probably the hardest was in the mornings. And I wouldn't even use the word hard, honestly. It wasn't too bad at all. It was just me more like thinking about it or like wondering about what was happening. It was first thing in the morning when I woke up, because that's kind of when I first check like if anything's happened or like what's happened overnight, or I just like check my notifications. And so when I first woke up and there was like nothing from social media on my phone, I was like, I wonder what's going on. But after that first like 5 minutes, it was like, okay, up, cooking breakfast. It really wasn't a big deal. It was just those moments where I thought about it the most. But aside from that, it was really chill, and we were always on the move and doing something, so it really wasn't too bad. I did find that the longer I went without using the apps, the more I didn't want to use them. It was kind of strange, like the first day and the following morning was probably the hardest time. But then after that, I was like, this is kind of nice. I'm not getting distracted by stuff that's not happening right in front of me in the real world. I don't really want to go on the apps. So that really surprised me when that happened. I thought, this is interesting. I don't want to go on it. I'd rather just like stay away and just like live my life a little bit in the real world. I don't know. It was really interesting. I was very surprised by that happening. I did, however, kind of feel like when I go on social media, especially like Instagram or TikTok, it's another world away from my physical world of like where I actually am physically. I do kind of, and I didn't realize this before stopping going on it for a couple of days, but I do kind of separate my real physical world to my social media world. And it's so interesting, and I really love my social media world. Like the people that I follow on Instagram and TikTok are really inspiring people, like strong women, and it's a really nice environment that I've created on my like For You page. I do kind of feel like I was missing the world that I had created on that side. The world that I have physically isn't bad by any means, but I do just feel like, yeah, I was disconnected from what almost feels like a second life. I don't know, it sounds really dramatic, but I do really think that the little device of my phone just sucks you into like a completely different world. And sometimes that can be really negative and really bad. But the one that I've created, like I said, I feel like it's just a really positive, empowering kind of environment. Even though it's not a physical environment, I don't know, it's so weird to describe. But I kind of missed that, and I felt very disconnected from that world. And I didn't particularly like feeling disconnected. Because I went from 9 a.m. Friday to 9 a.m. Sunday without social media, I got to 9 a.m. on Sunday and we were packing up our campsite, ready to drive to the resort that we were staying at. And I actually didn't feel like going on social media. And I didn't go on social media again until Sunday nights. So it was almost a whole other day. It wasn't 48 hours, it's a whole other day. How many hours is that? 48 plus 12. 60 hours? It was like 60 hours that I ended up going in total without social media. The challenge was 48. And honestly, before I started the 48, I was like, let me see how I feel after 24. And this video might be a 24 hours without social media. So the fact that it went 60 hours without social media really, really surprised me. But I'm kind of proud of myself. I don't know. I just didn't feel like going on it. You know, we were checking into a resort. We went out for dinner. Like, it was really nice. And then eventually that evening, I was like, oh, all right, let me go on it. Now that I'm allowed to, I'll go on it. That really surprised me, and I was really kind of shocked by myself a little bit. It has been a week since I did this challenge, and I found 3 days later, I felt like I was still catching up on the content that I'd missed, and I felt still very disconnected from social media. And even today, like still today, a week later, I still kind of feel disconnected from social media. And I don't know why. I feel disconnected from that world that I was talking about. And I don't particularly like this. I don't like that I'm disconnected from it, because like I said, I really enjoyed it. I don't know, it's a little bit odd. And then it also makes me a little bit hesitant to go on it nowadays, because it's a little bit like when you've got a massive list of things to do and you don't know where to start, and so then you just sit there and you just don't do anything. That's kind of how I feel like with catching up and the like feeling disconnected. Like, it's kind of too hard pile. Where do I start? I'm not even gonna start, which I don't want. Like, I'm kind of almost pushing myself to go on social media more, because I'm not going on it as much as I was before this challenge. And it's making me feel disconnected. It's so strange. Like, it was a good experience, but it also was kind of, I found it a little bit negative. And I don't want to I know that going off social media for some time is really, really good for some people's mental health. And probably was really good for my mental health as well, to be more in the moment and like living my real life. So I don't want to discredit like how good it is for you, but I'm just telling you my real raw experience. And this is kind of the feelings that I have. Like, I'm still not on it as much now as I was before this challenge, and I really enjoyed it, and I kind of miss the feeling that I had going on it beforehand. And now it's kind of like hesitant, can't really be bothered, too hard pile a little bit. Another negative that I've kind of found from this experience is that I've found it harder to film these YouTube videos. I use a lot of other content creators' content as motivation to make my own content. And I feel like if I'm not constantly consuming that content and being around it, I really easily lose motivation to do that. And the last week, I've really, really struggled to sit down and even just film this video right now. So the fact that it's out on time, hopefully, is a big accomplishment for me this week. I really struggled to get here, and I don't want that to be a continuous thing that impacts my content. I really need to stay consistent and stay motivated. And I find by consuming other people's content of people that I love watching and people that inspire me, helps me to feel motivated and inspired to create my own. That was kind of a negative that I found with the content not being consumed. And then feeling disconnected as well has kind of just made me feel disconnected from my own content and motivated to post my own content. So I don't want that to continue. I'm kind of going to break out of that a little bit to make sure it doesn't. So to sum up, essentially, it wasn't a negative experience and it wasn't a positive experience. I feel like it was kind of just like in the middle. Like, the negatives and the positives were a little bit on the same level. and it was a good experience, but it wasn't a bad experience either. I don't know, there was just no negatives and positives. I'm glad I did it. I'm still definitely really glad I did it. I do really want to try doing it while I'm at home and I'm not fully distracted by traveling or whatever I'm doing. So I might give that a try one day. I don't know, we'll see. If you're interested at all in where we camped and what it was like, we camped down in Shelley's Beach in Albany, which is south of Western Australia. And I might put some clips in now of what it looks like and how it was, because it was a really, really beautiful spot. If you're interested at all in me posting about our travels and camping trips or any kind of traveling, then let me know in the comments and I might make that happen. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.